Hi everyone. In this unit we'll be talking about inequalities. So today we're going to be talking about translating and then just reviewing how to solve two-step inequality problems. Alright, let's first start with just some key words to help us with those translation problems. So, key addition words, things that we want to look for. Plus, sum, the word and sometimes, combine, increase, added to, together. So these words here all together may mean addition. We also have something called a turnaround phrase. It does mean to add, but it also means we're going to have to switch our order. So that's when we see the phrase more than. Alright, let's take a look at some subtraction words. We have minus, difference, decrease, fewer, and then a turnaround phrase is less than. Alright, let's look at multiplication words. We have per, times, product, of, each, and twice. Right? Of is often used with a fraction. Half of something, 2/3 of something. Okay? Division, we use divided by, half, split, quotient, of. Right, so sometimes of can also mean divide. If we say we have half of something, instead of multiplying by 1/2, we could divide by 2. And we've talked about that in class as well. Alright, now let's get down to our inequality symbols and talk about what those key phrases are that we have to look out for. Alright, well we know that this one here is that less than sign. But we already used less than up here as a subtraction turnaround phrase. So what we have to watch out for is that phrase leading with the word is. If we see is less than, then it means the inequality symbol. If it's just less than, then it means subtract and turn it around. All right, we could also see is fewer than. Okay. This one here is more than, which again we saw more than up here, but this time it's leading with the word is. So is more than means the inequality sign. Just more than means that it's an addition turnaround phrase. Okay? Or is greater than. Alright, then we have these two, which are the less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. But we also can see these listed as maximum, no more than, or at most. So these are key ones here that we will definitely see throughout our work. All right, and then is greater than or equal to, at least, no less than, and minimum. So now we're going to come down and we're going to actually translate some statements. Okay, that's all we're going to do here is translate. So when we're doing these translations, we want to look for keywords. Whenever we see a number, that means we need to use a variable. Twice a number means we're going to multiply by 2. If I increase something by 4, we're going to add by 4, and then is at least. Okay? There's that at least right there. Alright, so twice a number means we're multiplying a number by 2. Increased by 4, we're going to add 4, and then is greater than or equal to 19. Alright, now let's take a look at the next one. 3 less than the quotient of a number and -5 is greater than 15. Alright, so here's that word less than. Right, so what we have to look out for is it's not the symbol, because it doesn't say is less than, it says 3 less than. So that comes up here to our subtraction turnaround phrase. Alright, so what exactly does that mean to turn it around? Well, that means that the 3 is now going to go at the end. Alright, so 3 less than, well, 3 less than what? What are we subtracting? Less than means we're going to subtract. What are we going to subtract? The quotient of a number and -5. So the quotient of means we're dividing a number and -5. So I'm going to divide a variable by -5, and then I'm going to subtract 3 from that. So it would look like this. 2/3 of a number increased by 12 is a maximum of negative 12. So 2/3 of, there's our keyword multiply, of a number increased by 12 is a maximum of negative 12. So we're going to do 2/3 times a number. Increased by means to add, so we're going to add 12. And then it's a maximum. And here's that keyword maximum, which means less than or equal to. All right, now I want you to try these next three on your own. Go ahead and pause the video now. Okay, let's go to the next page where we're going to review how to solve two-step inequalities. And the process here is no different than solving a two-step equation, except for one little minor detail at the very end. So some vocabulary words: inequality is a comparison of two expressions. Solution is a value that makes a statement true. All right, so to solve, we want to get the variable by itself. We want to isolate that variable. We do this by using inverse operations. So no different than solving a regular equation. Now, here's the one little difference. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign, the inequality sign. Okay? All right, so let's come over here and give these three a try, and then we're going to graph them on our number lines. All right, so first thing I always do is I draw my line. All right, so here is my inequality symbol. All right, I'm sorry, here's my variable term. That's the one I need to isolate, get by itself. Right, so in order to do that, I need to get rid of this minus 12. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. When I do that, it gives me 3x is greater than or equal to 21. Next, I want to split the 3 from the x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. That cancels those 3's out, and we are left with x is greater than or equal to 7. All right, so I believe that your number lines are already created for you. So when we go to graph these, I believe your 7 is right about here. Oops. Right about here, okay? So this says that all my values, all my x values have to be greater than or equal to 7. So when I go to graph this, I'm going to graph this. I have to put a circle over 7, but what we have to decide now is that an open circle or a closed circle, right? Because it's equal to 7, we're going to close that circle up. And now I can draw my arrow to show all my numbers that are greater than 7. So I filled it in because it's equal to, and then to the right because it's greater than. All right, let's try this next one. So I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to search for my inequality symbol. I'm going to search for my variable, which is right here. So I want to isolate that. In order to do that, I have to get rid of the 6. So I'm going to subtract both sides by 6, which cancels that out. And then I can draw my line. Once I do that, I'm left with 1/4 y is greater than or equal to -4. All right, in order to undo this division, remember multiplying something by 1/4 is the same as dividing by 4. So to undo that divide by 4, I can multiply both sides by 4, which cancels those out. And we are now left with y is greater than -16. So now I'm going to place my -16 in the same spot that yours is, so it's about here. This time when I go to put my circle on there, I'm going to do an open circle because it's only greater than. So this time it's an open circle. And And again, I look at my answer and it's greater than negative 16. So all my values that are greater than negative 16 are going to be to the right, this way here. Okay. All right, and then let's take a look at this last one. All right, once again, I'm going to draw my line. And this is the one that we always find a little bit tricky to deal with. So I can't deal with the top until I've dealt with the bottom. That divide by 9 is kind of in my way. So I need to get rid of that 9. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 9. When I do that, those cancel out. I don't actually multiply anything up top by the 9. Multiplying this side by 9 is for the sole purpose of canceling that denominator out. Okay? Once I've done that, I am now left with 27 is greater than or equal to x minus 7. So now to isolate my x, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. Cancels these guys out. And now we're left with x is greater than or equal to, or 34 is less than or equal to x. Now when we write our answer, we should always flip it around. Be careful when you flip these around though. This is pointing to the 34, or you could say it's open to the x. When I flip it around, it still has to point to the 34 or be open to the x. Okay. Now I can go ahead and graph that one. And I think your number line is not correct. So you're going to have to cross your numbers off and then just make that 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. So where yours says 14, just go ahead and make that a 34. So that's right about here. So make that your 34. And now it's going to be a closed circle this time. Because it has that line underneath, it's equal to, and then again it's greater than. All of these ended up going to the right. So just be careful with that when you are working yours out. Now in these three examples, at no time did we ever divide by a negative number, so you do want to be careful when you get down to here if that's the case. It looks like for A, you're going to have to divide by that negative 2. Okay, so make sure that when you divide, at the last step, your inequality symbol gets flipped around. All right, that is it for our notes for today. I will see you in class.